and today I'll be presenting on my process exploring the use of Instagram and collaborations to achieve market dominance in the water bottle industry. So to start with, water bottles are obviously an essential to daily life. We know that our water intake is very important, and especially the color, look, and size of the water bottle. Just like everything else, we want our water bottles to match our aesthetic, and we want to present ourselves in a positive way, especially with the brands. So these are 4 of the most popular water bottle brands right now, but today I'll only be looking at 3 of them. Stanley, Owala, and Hydro Flask, as you can clearly see looking around the room today, are the 3 most popular water bottle brands today. I'm saying this just from noticing it, and I think I'm really credible because I'm a high school girl, but that's just from my experience. So I want to go into all 3 of these water bottles and first examine why each of them are popular. To start with, Hydro Flask became popular because of its ties to nature and its ability to add stickers onto the water bottle. So people could really showcase their personality through the stickers, and then obviously the water bottle is very important. Next is Owala, the most recent water bottle to this popularity, and it became popular because of its dual functioning lid and its straw and sip opening. So first is the dual functioning lid. As you can see here, this is the normal water bottle, and then you can hold it from its wide body, or you can hold it from the handle that pops up. And then from there you can click the button and you can see the opening to drink out of it. It's got a straw attached to it, so you can just sip it from there, or you could use the wide mouth opening and drink it. Next is the most popular right now, Stanley. It became popular because of its easy to hold handle. I made that, by the way. And then also its ability to fit perfectly into a cup holder. So all 3 of these brands have something in common, and that's their marketing techniques. I knew that I wanted to look at social media through this process because it's such a powerful marketing tool, but I didn't know specifically which one I was going to look at. That's when I went to other sources and research articles and saw that Instagram is the most effective. This is mostly because customers can directly engage with the post through likes, comments, shares, and follows of the brand. And this also gives feedback to the brand whether they're doing a good job with their new products, and also if their consumers are buying into the product. The most popular brand marketing strategy and the most effective is to use different colors and aesthetics to appeal directly to your audience. So I found through sources that brands would specifically target the audiences they wanted to buy their brand. So if you're giving off different aesthetics, different looks that you think your customers will engage in, it's going to be more effective than just using something that's general. So obviously aesthetics can change per brand. I wanted to look at 4 set marketing elements, and I chose celebrity endorsements, brand collaborations, pastel or girly colorways, and then also giveaways and contests. This leads me into how I was going to measure consumer feedback into the product. Originally, I wanted to look at the actual sales for the company, but they're all privately traded, so those documents weren't public. So then through other research articles, I found that the most effective way to measure this feedback was engagement, customers engaging with the posts. And then looking through more research articles, I found that one set engagement formula was the most effective, and that's like count plus comment count of each post over the total follower count of the brand. So for this experiment, I hypothesized through the work that I saw in other articles that celebrity endorsement was going to correlate with the most engagement to a post. And then as I was looking through these research articles, I saw a lot about Instagram and marketing and how you could use these different techniques, but I didn't see it so much in the water bottle industry. I believe this is because it's such a material item, like a backpack or a lunchbox. Why a water bottle? And that was really important to me because it's like I have brand name water bottles, and I was just wondering why. So that led me to my ultimate goal, which was identifying which marketing strategy was the most effective in boosting the engagement. So first I went onto Google Trends and looked up the most searched year for every brand, hoping that this would correlate to their most selling year. And for Hydro Flask, I found it was 2019. And then for Owala and Stanley, I found that it was 2024. And then I collected data, translated that data, and in turn compared the 3 brands. So first, I would identify a post as a giveaway or contest because it would usually state giveaway or contest in the caption, and then would also say it sometimes in the post. I would identify celebrity endorsements because they either had the celebrity pictured in their post or they were mentioned or tagged in the caption. Then pastel or girly colorways usually had low saturation or appeared more soft or muted. And then I identify brand collaborations because the brand was either featured in the post or it would picture in the caption the water bottle brand name X, the company. So this is my data collection. So I would take a post like this, which is a post featuring Messi with a Stanley, celebrity endorsement. I would identify that and then record the like and comment count for that post. Then I would do that with every celebrity endorsement for the year 2024 for Stanley. Then I also did that for the brand collaborations, again for pastel and girly colorways, and then once again for giveaways and contests. And that's just for Stanley. I did that for Owala, and then again for Hydro Flask, but for the year 2019. And with every research, there's going to be setbacks. My setbacks for this were specifically tied to Hydro Flask just because its most popular year was 2019. Very different marketing, very different year. So first, I was like, how am I going to get the follower count for 2019? And I actually found this website called the Wayback Machine where you could look up past websites and actually see the follower count. So I found a screenshot of a post from Hydro Flask from December 30th of 2019, and I took the follower count that was pictured in that photo and used that for the equation. And then also, this is really interesting, all of Hydro Flask's posts weren't organic. None of the posts from Hydro Flask in 2019 were actually made by Hydro Flask. They were all reposts of influencers who posted with Hydro Flask. And so they would tag the creator, and I was like, that's a problem because that's not a celebrity endorsement, but I did say that tagging the creator would be a celebrity endorsement. So for the accuracy of the study, I decided to disclude all of those and only count it as a celebrity endorsement if it showed directly the celebrity in the post. So ultimately, these are my results. This graph shows the average engagement rate for each of the elements by post, and then here you can clearly see that giveaways and contests result in the most over all of them. And then just to make sure that I was right, I ran a post-HOC turkeys range test, and it said that the P was below 0.01, which meant that every element compared to giveaways and contests was statistically different, meaning that giveaways and contests was the most effective element. I was right about that. So this graph shows the engagement rate for the posts again, but this time sorted by the brand. So the red line is attached to Owala's brand collaborations because that's the second most popular one that I saw in there. And you can see giveaways and contests, especially for Stanley, correlate to a far higher engagement rate than any of the other ones. And then this just shows the number of posts for each of the brands. That was the most posts I showed featuring an element for each brand. So for Owala and Hydro Flask, the most elements they used were giveaways and contests, which makes sense because it was the most effective. And then for Stanley's, it was brand collaborations, which is really popular for them this year. This, all of that I just showed was more quantitative. This was more qualitative results that I found. So from looking at this picture on the right is the VSCO aesthetic, which can be defined as typically relaxed or beachy vibe, and usually picturing natural beauty or promoting environmental awareness. So with this, I compared it to a photo on the left of 2019's of Hydro Flask Instagram in 2019. As you can see, a lot of the pictures correlate, like this one of the dog, and then obviously the environmental awareness is clearly shown. So Hydro Flask, if you look at their brand, they started their brand with the intention of giving out this environmental awareness vibe because that was really important to their creator. And so when this aesthetic started trending that promoted the environmental awareness, people latched on to Hydro Flask because it showed the aesthetic that they were putting off. So that was really important. And I had never seen that in any of the sources that I looked through. I hope that these results open new doors for other research because I really don't think it's covered in the sense. It's more like I said earlier, with the numbers of the likes and comments the posts are curating, but never really having to do with the brand. Because to me, what this shows, and through looking at Hydro Flask in 2024, is that brands can never stay with one aesthetic over time. They can never truly be organic to themselves. They have to change with the trends. So no brand that is successful is ever truly going to be like one set thing. They're always going to be evolving and changing, which I never really saw in the sources I examined. The results summary is that giveaways and contests ultimately resulted in the highest engagement, which proves my goal, and then, like I said earlier, the VSCO aesthetic, and then the most posts for each one. I believe that giveaways and contests resulted in the highest engagement for each brand because giveaways and contests directly required their consumers to engage with the posts. For example, step 1 would be to like the post, step 2 would be tag all your friends, step 3 would be to share the post, and then 4th would be to follow the brand. So it makes sense that that was the most engaged element because consumers are more likely to engage in a post where they can win something than just engaging in a post that's just like a celebrity promoting the product. And then thirdly, I found that companies that predict trends just like Hydro Flask did, or like already start with the trends, are likely to be more successful in the future when that trend does come about than a brand that doesn't have a certain aesthetic or trend to it. I have 3 future applications that I believe are really important. So for companies, I think it's really important to know that no matter the changing aesthetic, if you think that that's not your vibe, that what's trending right now, you can still use giveaways and contests to engage your customers and get more feedback from that. And then for consumers, I think it's really important that we know we're changing these material items into a really brand-focused center. Like instead of just getting a water bottle, we're looking at, is it Stanley, is it Owala, is it Hydro Flask? And I think it's really important to know how these brands somewhat manipulate us as consumers into purchasing the product. And then for researchers, I really want someone to do this if I don't. But like I said earlier with the messy post, it was one of the most liked posts out of every single one that I looked at. And I was wondering if somebody could look into athletes sponsoring posts and like, are they getting more attention because it brings in this new consumer base of like guys and males to the Stanley company? Because essentially the consumer base is more girl focused because girls care more about brands, but with the inclusion of athletes, is it bringing in this new targeted consumer base and then opening a wider audience? Some limitations with this research is that brands can gain followers every second, so the follower count with the formula or equation for engagement isn't necessarily always correct. And then in the same way, you can like and comment on a post after the time that it was already posted, so that can sway the results a little bit, but I do think with what I had, I did the best work that I could because, like I said, I didn't just use the Hydro Flask count from 2024, I did go back and use it from 2019, which is pretty accurate. And then also this study doesn't include the Instagram algorithm, which can randomly choose certain posts to pop up more on someone's feed than others, and so that's really important to include. In conclusion, my hypothesis was not supported. I hypothesized that celebrity endorsements were going to be the most popular due to what I was seeing around me at the time, but it was actually giveaways and contests. The goal was to find out which element resulted in the most engagement. We did that, giveaways and contests. And then, yeah, here are my references, and that's it.
The question I will ask relates to the choices you made throughout the research process. How did you determine which results generated by your research method were most important in informing your new understanding?
Okay, so in terms of the quantitative research, I wanted to make sure I accomplished the ultimate goal, which was helping other brands figure out what set element they could use. So I thought it was really important to include the giveaways and contests being the most important and not just the aesthetic side of it, because with aesthetics always changing, brands might not believe that they can always keep up with it. And so it's important to know that you can use these like celebrity endorsements and giveaway contests no matter the scale of your brand, no matter the aesthetic, to appeal to your audience. And then on the qualitative side, I had never seen that before, and I feel like it's really important for any POV like perspective to know that brands are just never truly organic, which I never really realized. Like And that's okay because that's how they stay successful. As people, we're always changing with the trends, and so we have to assume that the brands are going to do that with us.
The question I will ask relates to your data or results and how it contributes to a new understanding. How did the limitations of your method or data influence your new understanding?
Okay, so I'd always heard about the Instagram algorithm, and like I had seen through my feed and personal experiences that like random posts would pop up on my feed, I guess, because they were recommended for me, or like even when I was doing research on Stanley and Owala and Hydro Flask, always searching it up, then randomly I was getting like water bottle ads all the time. And so I think it's really important to know as consumers that some posts, and as brands, that some posts are just going to do better than others. You can control a lot of the parts that you can't control, brands do control, such as like Coca-Cola and Oreo. They put in their like humor into their posts to appeal to consumers, but it's not always going to work necessarily because there are factors that you can't control.
All right. Think back to your initial curiosity that sparked your inquiry. What other curiosities do you have, and how has this process prepared you to explore them?
Okay, so initially I got into this like research project because my mom is like trend obsessed. Seriously, if you ask any of my friends, you'll know. When Hydro Flasks were popular, we had like 10 Hydro Flasks. And now you look into our closet, I bring like a different Stanley Classic every day. I have like 12 of them. And so I was really wondering like, how are these brands capturing people's attention? And how is like, and I was seeing my dad with the Stanley, and I was like, how are they getting all these different types of people to focus directly on their brand? And so looking into the future, I definitely, like I said about the messy posts, I want to know if brands are using different celebrities, singers, artists, influencers, athletes, if they're using different marketing bases in that stance to accumulate new consumers. Like, is a basketball player getting more of that audience? Is like an influencer who's talking a lot about like clean girl aesthetic, if she's seen with a Stanley, is she influencing this new consumer base of people who love that trend? And so I think that's really interesting, and I would love to look at that moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Trendy.
Thank you.